What's happening, tabletop gamers? My name is LeunameGames. Welcome back to LeunameGames Unboxes. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Hostage Negotiator by AJ Porfirio and published by Ryder Games. Let's go ahead and have a look at the back here and see what this is about. Crisis. Today you got the call. It only happens on rare occasions, but it is what you've spent your life preparing and training for. Hostages have been taken. You head to the command center near the scene. The crisis commander briefs you on the situation. Then you pick up the phone and the mental jousting begins. Hostage Negotiator is a solitaire card and dice game where you play the role of a hostage negotiator. You have the responsibility and the burden of negotiating with a hostile abductor who has taken hostages. Use your wits to adapt to whatever the situation throws your way to save the hostages and win the game. In Hostage Negotiator, you use conversation cards to carry out several conversations with the abductor. You resolve cards by rolling dice, and your success or failure largely depends on your ability to control the abductor's threat level. In the meantime, you'll need to acquire more conversation points so that you can buy more cards. Above all, you must save the hostages. After each conversation, you'll resolve a tarot card that makes your objective even more difficult. Just to be fully transparent with you, this is actually a game that I've been really excited to take a look at because the theme behind this seems so interesting to me. So with all that said, let's have a look and see what does Hostage Negotiator have to offer us. The game comes with a player board that has several things on it that you'll need to know. There is a spot on the board that you need to place the abductor themselves on. There's a spot over here that shows you what all their demands will be, and if whether or not they were revealed or not. There's a little instruction here that explains whether or not their demand is revealed. There is a spot here to keep all of the hostages in, as well as a spot that shows all the ones you've saved and the ones that you've lost. There is also a dial here. This is to keep track of the abductor's threat level, which you actually use this red token for. You place it on there and you use that to keep track at how threatening the abductor is. It seems the more calm you can keep the abductor, the more dice you'll be able to roll. And then finally, there's this track here. This is the conversation points track, and this is basically what you'll use to get new cards to try to have conversations with the abductor, and you use this little speech bubble token to keep track of how many conversations points you have. There are a whole bunch of yellow meeples here, and these are meant to represent the hostages that you're trying to rescue. The game comes with 3 different abductors that you can play against. Each of them has a starting demand and an escape plan, and most of them will have some sort of special rule that is specific to their scenario. There's also a little story that gives the abductors some background as to why they chose to do what they have done. In addition to that, there's also a little track right here that shows how many hostages that they have taken and what their starting level of their threat is. Each abductor also has a series of major demands, and this is basically what they want to try and get out of seizing these hostages. On the back of these, it basically just shows what their demands are and something that you can do to try to concede in a conversation to hopefully try to get some benefit out of it, whether it's trying to rescue the hostages or buy you some more time, reduce the threat level. But every time you concede for a conversation, you will suffer a penalty written on the side of these cards here. There is a deck of terror cards, and these are basically meant to represent the situation getting worse for you. And by doing so, it will resolve in a bunch of penalties, whether in the threat dial increasing, or maybe just a hostage straight up being killed, or maybe moving the threat marker higher, or some other attempts, including maybe some minor demands that you will have to meet in order to win. There are 4 escape demands, and this is basically representing what the abductor is demanding in order to try to escape the scene. Once again, just like the major demands, there is something that you can use to try to concede the conversation that can give you some kind of benefit. However, just like in the major demands, there is also a penalty if you choose to concede the conversation. There are some terror pivotal events which are similar to the terror events, except these are a lot more dire. And these will only show up at certain points in the game, I'm assuming after a certain amount of terror events have already gone. There's also a second in command card, and this is basically meant to act as a sidekick for the main enemies. Sometimes you won't have this, but other times if the abductor does get eliminated, the second in command will come in and basically acts as a second round that you now have to deal with. Similarly, there is a story following the second in command and some special rules regarding how to defeat it. There are a whole bunch of different conversation cards that you are going to use to try and talk to the abductor and try to get him to release the hostages. Each of these has a couple things that will need to be known. First off, each of these has a cost down here. This is the amount of conversation points that you'll need to spend in order to obtain these cards. You'll see some of these don't have a cost, and that's because you start with them at the beginning of the game. Also, they have a little chart here. This is what you're going to be rolling dice for to try and get these symbols, and if you can get all the symbols you need, you get the highest result. If you get some of them, you get disproportional result. And if you get nothing, you get this really bad outcome that can result in some very, very dire consequences. And I can say with confidence that these cards are pretty easy to tell. The symbols are very easy to see, as well as the text on the cards as well. And I can say with confidence, I love the idea of having the little speech bubbles on there, as well as the quote down here. I think it personally adds a little bit more flavor to the game. And then finally, there are 5 dice that come with the game. These dice are engraved, which is nice, so that means they're going to last a lot longer. And they have I believe it's, 3 blank sides, and then a single police badge side. Actually 2 police badge sides, and then 1 side that shows 2 cards, as well as a number on each of the individual sides. Not sure what that's supposed to mean, but I believe I'm assuming that the 2 cards are going to represent you being able to draw 2 cards, and the police badge represents a success. So that is everything you will get if you obtain Hostage Negotiator. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. If you want to learn how to play Hostage Negotiator, or if you want to know my thoughts on it, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more tutorials, reviews, and unboxings. Thank you all as always so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.